If life feels heavy right now, if you're tired, overwhelmed, or silently fighting battles no one sees, stop. Breathe. This message is for you. You're not watching this by accident. There's a reason you clicked. Something inside you knows you're meant for more. And this moment could be the turning point. Let's talk about how to rise, even when everything feels too much. Pressure creates power, but most people misunderstand what pressure truly is. They see it as the force that squeezes them, suffocates them, or pushes them to a breaking point. But pressure isn't the enemy. Pressure is the catalyst. It is the invisible force that transforms potential into strength, uncertainty into clarity, and fear into courage. When pressure shows up in your life, it is not there to punish you. It is there to activate a version of you that cannot emerge in comfort. Pressure reveals your capacity. It forces you to access mental, emotional, and spiritual resources you didn't even know you had. When everything feels heavy, when the world seems to demand more from you than you think you can give, that is the exact moment where the seeds of your strength begin to take root. The weight you feel is the very force that will grow you if you choose to engage with it rather than run from it. Think about how nature works. A seed doesn't become a tree without intense pressure. It's buried underground in darkness, crushed by soil, squeezed from all sides. Conditions are tight, uncomfortable, restricting. But without those conditions, the seed would never crack open. It would never sprout, never grow, never rise. Pressure initiates the breaking that leads to becoming. In the same way, the pressure in your life is cracking open parts of you that need to evolve. It is pushing you out of who you were and into who you must become. This process isn't gentle. It isn't supposed to be. Growth hurts. Expansion stretches. But every moment you feel yourself being squeezed by life, understand that something inside you is trying to break through. Pressure also forces clarity. It strips away excuses, distractions, and unnecessary noise. When you're under pressure, you don't have the luxury of indecision. You can't afford to hesitate. Pressure sharpens your focus, redirecting your mind toward what truly matters. It exposes the truth about what you value, what you're fighting for, and who you're becoming. When everything around you feels like it's tightening, that is often when you discover your real priorities. Pressure refines your vision in a way comfort never will. Comfort protects your current identity. Pressure unlocks your next one. And there's another dimension of pressure people rarely talk about. It builds emotional resilience. Emotional strength isn't developed when life is easy or predictable. It is forged when you're overwhelmed, when you're unsure, when the next step feels uncertain. Emotional resilience grows every time you face pressure and choose not to fold. It grows every time you stay in the fight a little longer. It grows every time you rise after a fall. This is why people who have faced real challenges often become leaders. They carry the weight of experience. They've been tested. They've been stretched. And because they endured their own pressure, they develop the capacity to handle more, to guide others, to stay grounded when others panic. Pressure is the universe's way of pushing you toward your potential. It is the training ground for your highest self. When life presses in on you, it's awakening the power that lives inside you, demanding that you stop shrinking and start stepping forward into the person you were always meant to be. You're stronger than your worst days, but it's easy to forget that when you're standing in the middle of them. When everything feels heavy, when nothing seems to go your way, when your mind keeps replaying the same fears and doubts, it's natural to believe that the struggle defines you. But it doesn't. Your worst days are not the measurement of your strength. They are the moments that reveal it. Anyone can feel powerful when life is flowing, when things are working, when opportunities show up like gifts. But the true test of strength comes when the world is dark, when you feel alone, when you're unsure if you can take one more step. And yet, despite all of that, you're still here. You're still breathing. You're still fighting. That alone proves that your worst days didn't destroy you. They built something inside you that didn't exist before. Your worst days often feel like the end of something, but they're actually the beginning of a transformation you can't fully see yet. Pain has a way of stretching the soul, of creating space where new strength can grow. Think about the moments in your life that changed you the most. They weren't the moments of ease or comfort. They were the moments of heartbreak, the moments of loss, the moments when you felt broken. Those experiences carved resilience into you. They softened you where you needed empathy and hardened you where you needed courage. Every time you went through something painful, you emerged with a deeper understanding of yourself and a greater capacity to endure. Your worst days gave you a new depth. They taught you how to survive in situations you once feared. And because of that, you now carry inside you a strength you didn't have before. There is something powerful in realizing that your darkest moments didn't take you out. There were days you thought you'd never get through, yet you did. There were moments you felt like giving up, yet you didn't. This means your strength is not theoretical, it's proven, it's real, it's embedded in your history. The fact that you're still standing, despite every challenge that tried to break you, is proof that you have a resilience far beyond what you ever imagined. Even on days when you feel weak, lost, or empty, there is a part of you that refuses to quit, a part of you that rises even when everything inside you feels like falling. That part of you is stronger than any circumstance you've faced. And the truth is, your worst days are temporary, but the strength they create lasts a lifetime. Hard moments pass, pain fades, emotions shift, but the grit you develop, the mental toughness you build, the emotional capacity you gain, that stays with you. It becomes a part of who you are. Your worst days shape you into someone who can handle more, someone who can rise faster, someone who can look struggle in the face and say, "I've survived worse." And that kind of strength is not something life can take away from you. It's not something circumstances can erase. It's yours, earned through the battles you didn't ask for but fought through anyway. Shifting from what's missing to what's possible is one of the most powerful mental transformations you can make, yet it's also one of the hardest. The human mind is wired to scan for danger, scarcity, and loss. It fixates on what's not working, what's lacking, what slipped through your fingers. When you're overwhelmed or struggling, this instinct becomes even stronger. Your focus locks onto the gaps. Time you don't have, opportunities you missed, money that isn't there, people who didn't show up, and dreams that feel too far away. And the more you focus on what's missing, the heavier life becomes. It drains your energy, weakens your drive, and convinces you that progress is impossible. But the real truth is this: your focus is the lens through which you experience reality. What you choose to pay attention to has the power to either break your momentum or build it. When you shift your focus, you shift your emotional state. When you shift your emotional state, you shift your actions. And when you shift your actions, you shift your life. This shift isn't about pretending everything is perfect or denying the challenges you're facing. It's about recognizing that focusing only on what's missing keeps you stuck, while focusing on what's possible opens doors you didn't even know existed. Possibility thinking doesn't require everything to be ideal. It requires you to look at your situation through a different lens. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with my life?" you begin asking, "What can I do with what I have right now?" That single change in perspective turns obstacles into opportunities. It turns limitations into creative problems. It turns fear into fuel. When you start focusing on what's possible, your brain begins searching for solutions instead of excuses. It starts identifying resources instead of restrictions. It begins finding openings that were invisible when your attention was locked on lack. What's possible is always bigger than what's missing. You might not have everything you want, but you have something you can use. You might not be where you hope to be, but you're still capable of moving forward. You might not have the support you expected, but you're not powerless. Every day, every moment, you have the ability to choose a new focus, and that focus creates a ripple effect through your entire life. When you focus on what's possible, you begin seeing the next step instead of the entire staircase. You begin noticing opportunities that align with your goals. You become more resourceful, more adaptable, more creative. You build momentum through action instead of paralysis through doubt. This shift is transformative because it brings your attention back to your power. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's lacking and start seeing yourself as someone who's capable. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start working with what's in front of you. You stop being controlled by fear and start being guided by possibility. And eventually, you begin to realize that the life you want isn't built by obsessing over what's missing. It's built by taking consistent action toward what's possible, no matter how small that action might be. Once you make this shift, your entire reality begins to expand because you're no longer living from scarcity. You're living from potential. Small wins break big burdens, but most people underestimate the power of starting tiny. When life feels overwhelming or heavy, the mind often convinces you that only massive action can change things. It tells you that you need a huge breakthrough, a dramatic shift, a complete reinvention. But the truth is, big breakthroughs are almost always built on small, consistent wins. When burdens feel too heavy to carry, it's not because you're weak, it's because you're trying to lift everything at once. Human beings are not designed to leap from overwhelmed to unstoppable in a single moment. We're designed to build momentum, stack progress, and reclaim control step by step. A small win may not seem life-changing on its own, but it creates a ripple effect that transforms your emotional state, your confidence, and your ability to take the next step. Small wins matter because they interrupt the cycle of paralysis. When you're stuck, overwhelmed, or exhausted, taking one tiny step forward can feel like an impossible task. But when you finally take that step, even if it's small, something shifts inside you. Your brain registers progress. Your body feels movement. Your spirit feels a spark of possibility. That spark is everything. It's the catalyst that breaks the emotional weight that's been holding you down. One small win gives your mind evidence that change is possible, even when life feels impossible. And once your mind sees progress, it becomes easier to take another small step, and then another, and then another. Before you know it, the burden that once felt crushing becomes something you can manage, and eventually something you can overcome. What makes small wins so powerful is that they create a sense of accomplishment without requiring perfection. Perfection is a trap that keeps people stuck. It convinces you that if you can't do everything, you should do nothing. But small wins don't demand perfection. They demand effort. They demand presence. They demand that you move forward in whatever way you can, using whatever strength you have today. Washing one dish instead of the whole sink, walking for 5 minutes instead of running a mile, making one phone call instead of completing an entire project. These small wins might seem insignificant, but they create movement. And movement dissolves burden. You don't climb a mountain in one giant step. You climb it one small stride at a time. Small wins also rebuild self-belief. Burdens become heavier when you stop trusting yourself, when you feel like you can't follow through or make progress. But every small win is a promise kept. It's a reminder that you can take action. It's proof that you're capable of showing up. And that proof accumulates. Each small win becomes a building block for your confidence. Over time, these blocks create a foundation strong enough to carry bigger dreams, bigger responsibilities, and bigger victories. You begin to see yourself not as someone who's falling behind, but as someone who's moving forward, even slowly. That shift alone lightens the load you carry because nothing lifts a burden faster than the return of your own inner strength. The beauty of small wins is that they're always available. No matter how tired you are, how overwhelmed you feel, or how difficult life becomes, there is always one small step you can take. And that one step, tiny as it may seem, has the power to change the direction of your entire day, your entire mindset, and eventually your entire life. You always have a choice, even in the moments when life feels overwhelming, constricting, or completely out of your control. It may not feel like it, especially when situations get complicated or emotions run deep, but the power to choose your next move never leaves you. This choice isn't always about changing the circumstance itself. Sometimes it's about changing your focus, your meaning, your response. Life will present you with events you didn't ask for, experiences you didn't expect, and challenges you didn't see coming, but it's your choices within those moments that determine who you become. Your choices shape your identity, your resilience, your growth. They decide whether you stay stuck or move forward, whether you shrink or rise, whether you surrender to fear or step into strength. And this truth is both liberating and demanding. It means you can reclaim your life at any moment, but it also means you have to own your decisions fully. Choice is the thread that reconnects you to your personal power. When life feels chaotic, it's usually because you feel like you've lost control. But control isn't about controlling the world. It's about controlling what happens inside you. It's about recognizing that even when everything outside of you is uncertain, your inner world is still yours to shape. You can choose what to focus on, whether it's the problem or the solution, the fear or the possibility, what's missing or what's still within reach. You can choose the meaning you attach to events because the meaning determines how you feel, and how you feel determines the actions you take. You can choose to move even when your body wants to freeze. You can choose to speak even when your voice shakes. You can choose to try again even after you've failed. These choices may seem small, but they are the foundation of transformation. The choices you make in your lowest moments often become the turning points of your life. When you feel exhausted, you can choose to rest instead of quit. When you feel afraid, you can choose courage over avoidance. When someone hurts you, you can choose healing over bitterness. When you face uncertainty, you can choose curiosity over panic. These decisions are not easy, and they don't instantly erase pain or struggle, but they redirect your path. They give you direction when everything feels directionless. They create momentum when you feel stuck. They remind you that even in your vulnerability, you are not powerless. Your choices carve out a space for you to breathe again, to think again, to rise again. And the most empowering part of all is that choice is available to you in every moment. You don't need perfect conditions, you don't need clarity, and you don't need strength you don't have yet. All you need is the willingness to decide the next right step for you, the next thought, the next action, the next shift in perspective. Over time, these choices accumulate into a different life. They build a different mindset, a different energy, a different future. When you realize you always have a choice, you stop waiting for life to change and start changing yourself. And that shift, that ownership, becomes the beginning of a new direction, a direction that leads you to a stronger, wiser, more powerful version of who you already are. Your future isn't built by comfort, and deep down you already know this. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it slowly steals the potential of who you could become. It gives you temporary relief while quietly taking away long-term growth. Comfort protects the present version of you, but it suffocates the future version waiting to be born. Every dream you have, every goal you envision, every change you want in your life requires some level of discomfort, not because discomfort is punishment, but because discomfort is the gateway to expansion. Growth lives on the other side of the unfamiliar, the uncertain, the difficult. If you never step into discomfort, you stay exactly where you are, even when you know you're capable of so much more. Comfort seduces you with ease, but it keeps you trapped in cycles that prevent your evolution. The future you want, whether it's strength, success, confidence, peace, or purpose, will require you to do things that challenge you. It will require you to push past the limitations that feel safe. It will require you to say yes when your fear tells you to say no. It will demand that you show up on days you feel unprepared, that you act even when your emotions waver, that you take steps forward even when they feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's the sign that you're on the right one. Because all meaningful change disrupts your comfort zone. It forces you to confront habits, beliefs, and behaviors that have kept you stuck. It stretches you into someone stronger, someone more capable, someone more aligned with your potential. Comfort creates stagnation. When you stay comfortable for too long, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you stop feeling alive. You start operating on autopilot, repeating the same days over and over. You might feel safe, but you don't feel fulfilled. Fulfillment comes from progress, from becoming more than you were yesterday, from surprising yourself with what you're capable of. That doesn't happen inside the boundaries of comfort. It happens when you step into the unknown, when you challenge your old patterns, when you decide that your future matters more than your temporary ease. Discomfort builds character, resilience, discipline, and belief. It teaches you things comfort never will, like how strong you can be, how resourceful you are, and how much potential you've been carrying without realizing it. Every person who built a powerful future had to face moments of discomfort. They had to confront fear, doubt, resistance, and uncertainty. But they kept going because they understood that the life they wanted depended on the choices they made when things were hard. Your future will be shaped the same way, not by the days that feel easy, but by the days when you push yourself to grow, not by the moments you stay in your comfort zone, but by the moments you step out of it, not by avoiding challenges, but by meeting them head on. Your future is shaped every time you choose progress over excuses, courage over fear, action over hesitation. And the more you choose growth over comfort, the more you open yourself to a future that reflects the strongest, most powerful version of you. If life feels heavy right now, remember this. You are not defined by the weight you carry. You are defined by the strength you choose to rise with. Pressure is shaping you. Your worst days are building you. Your focus is your power. Your small wins are your momentum. Your choices are your freedom. And your future is being built by every courageous step you take outside your comfort zone. So don't walk away from this moment the same. Lift your head. Stand in your power. Trust what's growing inside you. You have more strength, more resilience, and more potential than you've ever allowed yourself to believe. This is your reminder. This is your wake-up call. This is your moment to rise. Your story isn't over. You're just getting started.